Well, and the latest we have in the studio is that a man in his 30s is battling for his life at the Ridge Hospital right here in Accra after he was allegedly shot multiple times at Nima in Accra. Well, the victim, identified as Audu, was shot while in his vehicle in traffic. 12 bullet shells have been retrieved by the police from the crime scene. Now, let's take a listen to one of the eyewitnesses recounting the incident.
We did here, we hear a gunshot. We come out here. The time we come out, we some man be, if you Okada man, we come back here. We ask and see what's happening there. But if we come, we from there coming, we ask and we say, if we are robbers. And robbers, we shout, and robber. We don't see anybody when we come. We one of our bishop boy. He go the back here, police will be there. We go call them. That time we the robbers they can pass. We go call them, no, we go the top in there. We go the people they shout now. We go there, we see the man, we line down. His stomach here plus here, the both sides, where they shoot down, plus in leg.
Like how many times?
They shoot, I see only one where they shoot down. They shoot down here plus here, one here, plus the entire, We ask that man said, if you know to talk, so we find car, the ambulance they can't pass, we call that, they do the ambulance one like, you don't mind anybody we can pass. We refund things, we don't see things. If you talk these things, you say you know we take it. If you talk this, so we force some man, we carry them, we put them inside in car, we they take and go hospital. Some man, me and some man, we carry them and put inside the car. You know, see that man, you know, fit up, but he just say, make hold on where in stomach the PM, his stomach, you know, the place where they shooting the PM, so make hold on where.
A family member of the victim, Sani Osman, says he's hoping Audu's condition will stabilize. He spoke with JoyNews, Kwesi Parker-Wilson.
Him and how is he? For now, it's not easy. We just have to pray, and then we've left everything in the hands of the doctors and also God. You know, everything will be possible, and we pray, and we are sure too he's gonna come back. Yeah.
So, what is the family demanding?
Actually, for now, our brother is on the sick bed, and we're praying that he get well. The rest, the police are here, the investigators and whatever, and the people who did this thing also will be arrested and then brought to book. That's what we're going to say now. But for now, we're asking for prayers from everyone that we should pray for my brother. And then that's the only thing we could say. Yeah.
And finally, for you, what could make somebody want to attack your cousin?
Actually, what I could say is maybe these people might be trailing him because they know he works at the Forest Bureau. And that I could say because they thought he had money or something. But I know my brother doesn't carry money home because of the way, even where he lives. And the way now you could hear today, this person has been attacked, this person has been attacked, this person has been attacked. So this is mine, actually, like, because he has done nothing wrong to somebody, I could say, you understand me? Because
not in any disagreement today.
No, my brother, if you could ask everybody, Audu is a very calm person. He doesn't go into people's affairs and stuff. So for anything, really, basically, I could say it's about money or something because he works at the Forest Bureau.
Oh, and now let's get to the most topical of the news currently in our country. And Professor Ransford Jampo, the political science lecturer of the University of Ghana, who is at the center of the BBC Sex for Great documentary, says he will sue the BBC as this, he said, is an attempt by some faceless persons to entrap and also needlessly damage his art and reputation. The documentary, which was released on the BBC Africa YouTube page, also features a number of university lecturers in Ghana, from the University of Ghana and Nigeria, including Professor Jampo, who the documentary producers say sexually harass their students. Professor Jampo in the documentary is seen in a secret recording, engaged in conversation with an undercover reporter who posed as a student. And so far, there's been threat. And Professor Ransford Jampo, who so far has refuted the claims that he ever exchanged sex for grades, says he maintains the undercover reporter who approached him in the documentary was not a student of the University of Ghana.
If you look at the BBC's own title, they said we're investigating alleged so-called sex for grade. And I'm sure you've seen the video, and you should answer whether it has to do with sex for grade or whatever. It has got nothing to do with a relationship between a lecturer and a student. It has everything to do with a lecturer and a friend. Somebody who was sent to come and trap. In the process of her entrapment, she became a friend, and we had our conversation as friends. And some of the conversations were very informal, but we are all mindful of the fact that it had got nothing to do with my professional relationship with a student and all that. And so if you have looked at the video, it has got nothing to do with somebody having sex and changing. How do you talk about sex for grade between a lecturer and somebody who is not his student? And so it is misleading, but it seems to me that I explained the circumstances to them, and it seems to me that there are people behind the scenes trying to pull the strings just to be able to embarrass me and all that. Because if you speak to the BBC, they tend to understand your point of view. I've written extensively. I'm going to give you copies of these letters. This is my first letter I wrote to them. It's an 11-pager. The second letter, it's here, and then the third letter explaining. And I made a lot of points, raised a lot of issues with what we were seeking to do. But some way, somehow, they decided not to factor anything that I have said in this letter into their own reportage. And the people that they were supposed to speak to, we had conversations here with my assistants, in the office. They don't want to speak to them. And it's like they are bent on pushing a certain angle just to be able to embarrass me. I can understand, because this is not the first time incident like this has happened.
What do you intend to do afterwards?
Well, I've seen my portion of the documentary already, and my lawyers had prepared my suit even long before they aired. We saw the documentary, and so tomorrow morning we'll sue them. Go to court, we'll sue them, and let them know that the BBC of yesteryears is not the BBC today. The BBC of yesteryears that was independent and would look into matters from all angles is now the BBC of a few people who are paid by some politicians who do not like people who are independent-minded. They get paid and they get pushed to do their bidding. And I'm happy. You see in my letter, I've told them that they are doing the bidding of some people, and I expect them to be independent-minded. When you saw the video, were you not disappointed? You were expecting a lecturer sleeping with a student and going to change the grade. Who does that? It doesn't make sense. BBC must set up. Otherwise, they are as useless as any other media outlet that is not worth its salt.
And so far, we've been engaging Dr. Ivy Amwakohene, a senior lecturer and head of Anti-Sexual Harassment Committee of the University of Ghana.
What we intend to do is to investigate the matter, follow our processes, and if these gentlemen are found culpable, recommend appropriate sanctions to the Vice Chancellor to apply, because he's a chief disciplinarian. The university will not say that these are cases that don't happen, but you see, you can only investigate when there's proof. And in fact, in our response to the BBC, we asked for the evidence that they have to help us with our own investigations. And initially, now they've said no, and so they want us to properly apply for it, which we are going to do. And if they bring it to us, then that's the evidence to proceed on.
What happens to these two professors while investigations go on?
Well, I think the senior management of the university will soon make a decision, and you will know what the decision is. If they are found to be obstructing the processes, then the university will have to take the appropriate measures. But it's not for me to decide. It's for senior management to decide what to do. Ours is to take the evidence we have and
Maxwell Agbagba also spoke to some members of the debating club at the University of Ghana, and they are of the opinion the system protects predators.
Prior to coming to the University of Ghana, I have heard of certain cases and several cases of ladies coming on social media to speak on their issues when it comes to situations like this. And it's very difficult to report because they believe that Ghana has a system of protecting the elderly. So if there is any sort of issue against the older person always wins. So it's very difficult. And in an institution like this, where they don't want any sort of discredit to their name. It's very difficult to come out to talk about issues like this because they would always like to protect their staff, even at the expense of the student's life.
Okay. Well, we've been following the conversation on social media as well, and the feedback that we're getting is that it seems that it's widespread. I'm sure you have friends in other universities. What do they tell you is the reason they are unable to sometimes come forward to speak out?
I think, like she said, the system is protecting the predators, and the problem is that you can't trust a system where you report to a lecturer who is a friend of the one who is abusing you. So I think more has to be done when it comes to the anti-sexual harassment committee. If it could be a third party or an independent party not affiliated to the university, it would be better, because you can't trust the people who are supposed to protect you, because they're the ones who are actually abusing the students. So for me, I don't blame people not being able to come out, because we live in a system where people are constantly shamed for what they go through. The perpetrators are the ones who ought to feel shame, not the ones who've been abused. And we live in a system where we are constantly shaming victims.
And concluding, Dr. Samuel Nkoban is the president of the University Teachers Association of Ghana, the UG chapter. He says the association will not shield lecturers should they be found guilty.
Would always have an orientation for newly appointed, and these policies that the university has played out with them. And so if an individual decides to do that, of course, if it is against a student and the student is aware that there is a policy that does not allow for this, and you make a report, responsible, the committee will require evidence, and then the committee, of course, would also invite response from the person that the allegation is made against within 7 days. And the person must respond within 7 days. Assessment is done, the two parties are called.
Now moving on, water cannons fired, tasers used on students, at least 2 injured and 9 of them arrested, including an SRC president. And that's a summary of events at the demonstration by Ghana's law students protesting what they term the unjust examination policy, which has led to mass failures at the entrance examinations. Now, police used water cannons and tasers to disperse the crowd of protesters as they prevented them from getting close to the seat of the presidency, the Jubilee House. Komla Adom reports that some of the students were assaulted, while a cameraman with the online news network Yen Ghana also sustained a cut from the taser.
So the march is proceeding steadily. A short time ago, they made a brief stop in front of a law complex area where all the members of this team sat on the floor in front of a law complex for a few good minutes, protesting that legal education be reformed. After that brief stop, there was a chant of Arise Ghana Youth, after which there was an announcement by leadership of the demonstration that they're going to make a brief stop at the Attorney General Ministry of Justice's office to hand over a petition to him. And then from there, the process will continue to the Flagstaff or Jubilee House.
Never did we experience any students demonstrating. So in this really demonstrates the seriousness of the issue. We are fully appreciative of the immensity of the matter and the steps will be taken to address it. And of course, the issue of law reform, law education, it calls for a holistic view. I think that the access to the LLB program, of course, must even be measured against access to the professional law course itself. So it requires a comprehensive approach. I'm very happy that today we brought the petition to the Attorney General. The Attorney General will take account of all the issues that we have raised, will duly present to the General Legal Council, and then appropriate measures will be fashioned out to address the issue of access to LLB as well as access to the professional law course.
We just want to ask, Mr. Minister. So you heard the Deputy Attorney General, Godfrey Yeboah-Dame, addressing the protesters here from his car. I must say that was a tough time for him. The protesters would not allow him to move his vehicle. They would not allow him to step down. And I can hear the chants and the boos in the background. He was met with a very hostile crowd here. But he sought to address them. He sought to allay their fear. He says they're going to take up some of these issues. But it doesn't appear to have sat down well with the hundreds who have been participating in this protest so far. Let me now speak to Bernard Mona. I see that he's part of a protesters. Hello, welcome, Mr. Bernard Mona. Why did you decide to join this protest?
This is a protest to ensure that justice delivery in our country is enhanced. It is coming at a time when the Chief Justice has become a threat to justice and legal education in our nation. It's important that all well-meaning citizens of our nation rise up to say that, look, enough of the exclusive legal system that is in place to ensure that the mass of our people can participate in legal education. What we hear the Chief Justice say is that legal education should be restricted and that a chunk of our society should be denied the opportunity to access legal education. And this deliberate attempt is not that the students have failed, but that it is deliberate from the part of the Chief Justice to ensure that many are not able to go through the system. And I think that it is unfortunate.
What is happening now is a standoff between the protesters and police. The police are firm in their resolve not to allow the protesters cross this point, which has a Dutch embassy to my left. They say they do not have the requisite permission to go beyond this point. And so you would see that the crowd control vehicles have been stationed in the center of the road, and so the members of the protesters are not being allowed to go beyond this point.
No, hold on. What's about Hold on, let me down. Hold on.
I said, we are all involved. We are. Well, we'll talk about this as well. We're going to have representatives of the students right here, and then also look at those who led the march, and going forward, what is available for them by way of going forward. But in the meantime, we have to take a break. When we come back, we'll do a review of the newspapers. Do stay with us.